I'm trying that thing today where influencers stick their wireless mic on a random object and use it as a microphone. Today we have a spoolie. And I don't know, I kind of like it. It's making me feel very official, like very TED Talk. Like, hello, my people here. Maybe I should put my glasses on and then I'll look. Oh god, they're really smudged. Never mind. Today we're talking about ADHD. And I'm not going to sit here. I am not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not even diagnosed. And maybe half you just clicked off the video, but I feel like most of us are not diagnosed. We've just known that there's a bit of an ish. Especially girls. We mask very well. I never even considered having ADHD. Like, it was not, like, I know it kind of became, like, this popular thing, ADHD, autism. It was never really something I thought of until I started talking to a therapist a few years ago, and I thought I had OCD, which I'm sure, I mean, we've had people be diagnosed in the family with it, but, and I'm sure I did to some degree. However, I really actually learned to manage my symptoms on my own because I'm extremely resilient and smart, and I like to problem solve literally everything always, and it's actually really stressful sometimes. But anyways, what the hell was I saying? ADHD, autism. My therapist. And she was like, I'm not sure you have OCD. And again, I was not diagnosed. This was just, we were talking. She said, I think you might have ADHD. And I literally remember saying, no. God, my armpits are sweating. Oh, it is hot in here. I also don't have good deodorant right now because I am in Rhode Island. I came down from Florida anticipating going back to Florida in a week, and now I'm here for the month, and then I'm going to Alaska. Exhibit C, because I'm sure I've already shown behaviors of ADHD. What was I saying? Now I feel like it seems like it's an act because I know in other videos I don't do that, and truly it is somewhat of a mask always that I'm really good at, but also I'm feeling a bit triggered. That's why I'm filming this video in the first place. My point is, I'm not even diagnosed. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm super educated on ADHD and I know all of these things. Have I done research? Yes. Do I try to implement things for myself through that research? Yes. Have I been successful? Not really, because I'm 99.999% sure I have ADHD, so it's even hard to implement the tasks to do to help with the ADHD. To even remember to do those things is a task in itself, which is hilarious and horrible. I hate it. To me, I wonder, this world often just doesn't feel like it's set up for people like me. And I've felt very different my whole life. And, you can sit and say, I'm different, I hate it. Or you can even sit on a pedestal and say, I'm special, I'm better. Or you can look. And I hope the camera's not crooked and my stomach's about to growl really loud. See, I'm so triggered today. Like, I can't focus on anything. Like, genuinely, it's not a joke. It's not silly fun. It's just I've been trying so hard to focus and hone in on my goals because I'm freaking passionate and I'm getting there. And I'm really getting to a point where I'm not as stressed anymore. And I just want to enjoy life. That's always been my goal, is to just adventure and create and connect and enjoy the life that I'm living. That's my goal. And I'm not putting pressure anymore. I'm just setting these goals and wanting to fall in love with the process and the mundane, but it is so incredibly difficult to focus, and I really don't want to go the medication route because I just don't react well to medication, and I also don't like relying on things like that. You can have your own opinions on things of that nature, But for me, anytime I've been on medication or anything like that, it's just, I don't feel good. I don't feel like myself. And I feel like I am suppressing things to fit into a world that is not set up for me. And maybe you, probably you, if you're watching this video still. And I just wonder, what would a world look like for a brain like mine that would feel good? And then how can I create that world for myself inwardly, inward, and outward? Because I am not shy to be courageous and unconventional. I do it already. I've done it my whole life, and have I dimmed that? Yes. When you're a kid, you have to follow things because you're a kid and you don't know any better, and legally and adults and survival wise, you just have to. I am not scared to say, oh, this is not a life that works for me. And I find it really, really baffling when people can't seem to fathom other brains exist, other lifestyles exist. And it's like, that's been a huge part of that for me, has been travel. I always had this feeling that I didn't like life. And it's not that I didn't like life, it's that I didn't like the life that I was being forced to live as a kid. And then as an adult, I immediately started seeking other lifestyles because I just knew they existed. I'm so grateful for social media and my phone because of that, because I'll be honest, even having the knowledge I've had and traveling, it's easy to forget sometimes, your goals and your motives and what lights you up. And when I can just grab my phone and use social media as a tool instead of a distraction or something that stunts me, and, I cater my For You page or whatever to things that inspire me and that I love. So then I go, oh, I see this on my phone. I see this person traveling. I see this person writing a really beautiful poem. I see this person singing a gorgeous song and playing their guitar. I want to go do that now, And it's like, I'm getting a little bit off track here. There's so many points that I want to make. And as I've said twice now, I'm currently struggling to have clear thoughts. But the reason I even just sat down to make this video was to hopefully cut through that decision paralysis, because I'm sitting here writing my goals in my to-do list, coming up with ways to cater to my brain, to create a world that feels good for my brain. And I'm still struggling. And honestly, part of me started to feel like maybe I was procrastinating with creating these tasks for myself, or planning, getting stuck in that planning phase and not taking action. And I know that action, it really cuts through and creates clarity, but it's so hard. Sometimes, or a lot of the times, for me especially, I feel. So, what would the world look like if this is bad wording, if it felt good for me? If I was just born and things felt good and they worked out and they were adjusted to how I think and how I function. Holy moly, I am figuring that out. And I think part of it, I'm getting a stressful thought literally right now that is like, for this video, you should have scripted and you should have sat down and wrote all your thoughts clearly so that you could get them out and across, because I have about 1 million thoughts right now. That also leads into a little bit of a perfectionism problem I have. I find it really difficult to sit down and do videos like this because I feel it has to be perfect, when the point of the video is it's just Tashi talks, it's authentic. I have wisdom, I have takes that I think are cool and helpful and interesting. I just hope that even seeing the way I am currently, not really being able to complete thoughts and struggling to come back to them, is helpful to someone, makes someone feel less alone. If this video is anything, it's something to make you feel less alone. It's something to inspire you to cut through your decision paralysis this week. And look at me making this video, struggling, with a mic on a spoolie. Just do it, just cut through and do something this week today. The world I want to live in, I'm going to create it for myself, truly. And we can make more videos like this if people want, on how I'm doing that, how I am pursuing an unconventional lifestyle that will feel good but also productive. There needs to be some kind of balance. I can't be so black and white all the time. It cannot just be leisure, because I don't feel good when I do that. I know when I got out of high school, I was so excited because I thought my whole high school career, or my whole school career, all I wanted was free time to do nothing, because I spent my whole life being told what to do and being stuck in this routine that didn't feel good, and hating the first 3 hours of the day because I'm up so early and I can't sleep at night, and having to just adjust to everybody else's wants and needs. I consciously at the time, I didn't know all of this, but that's what happened. That's what was going on with me. So when I graduated, I spent about 6 months literally doing nothing. I don't even think I read books. I made videos probably, but more on autopilot. I don't really remember. I should actually go back and look at my ASMR channel and see what videos I made in that timeline, because it is such a blur. Because first of all, it was the reality hitting of this actually isn't what I've wanted. I'm bored and I don't know what to do with myself now. That's it, actually. I felt like I had more to say about that, but I guess I didn't. And I got so depressed, more than I had been when I was being told what to do, which is so ironic, because I was I hate my life. I'll be honest. If I read you my very first journal entry, which, you know what, let's just read it for the heck of it, because we're all over the place anyways today. Why not? Screw it. Oh, popcorn, fun. My play button too, fun. Oh man, I'm hungry. I feel like I'm gonna pass out. I'm sweating. Okay, my first journal entry. Let's back it up here. Back it up. March 7th, 2020. So how old was I? It's 2026. I'm about to be 24 in September. It's August. You can do the math, because I am not going to. I was young. I was in my first serious relationship. It was more just friends who don't know the difference between platonic and romantic connection. Why doesn't anything feel right? Who I am, what I look like, where I am, who I'm around. Sometimes I feel like everything is wrong. I wish I could get up and leave. Go somewhere with flowers, trees, and butterflies. It's a little corny. Then I realize I can't have that. I have to go to school and get a job, maybe get married, have kids. Is that what I want? I don't think it is. Maybe I'm lazy or just sad, but am I wrong to feel like this? Is there something wrong with me? Why do we do this? We get up and do things we don't like so we can continue to do things we hate. I don't know what to do anymore. I feel selfish. This helped. And that was the first journal entry in this journal, which I've come back to this journal over the years, usually when I'm feeling really low, really down. But I reread that entry all the time, and it brings me to tears, because I see how far I've come and how happy I am now. And then that brings me to why did I feel that way? There's so many reasons that I felt that way that I'm sure throughout the next few months, years, throughout this whole duration of this channel that I'll speak about, because God, do I feel different and lonely a lot of the time. But a big part of it growing up was just this world that I was given that was not catered to me. No one knew, because for example, I could take a test having maybe looked at the notes once the morning of and still get an 80, sometimes 100, I could do homework in homeroom. I could just not do homework at all and still maintain like a B or a C. I did get like an F once because this teacher was a real piece of freaking work. I want to swear so bad, but YouTube doesn't like that. I love to swear. Yeah, this guy sucked. And I'm a kind person. I don't like to say that people suck, but no, he quite literally said he would teach math. It was like hard. I don't know what it was. Something, maybe algebra 2 or something. It wasn't like anything crazy, but still, I'm just not that big of a math person. I was like the girl with the shapes. Like I liked geometry, and I did like math because again, sometimes it's stressful when things aren't so black and white. Sometimes it's fun. That's like the whole point, but sometimes it's stressful. And so when you could give me a formula and I could understand it and complete a problem, it felt really good. It felt like I actually felt accomplished. But this guy was just the worst. I mean, he would give us problem, a certain thing, subject for the week, and then you'd have a quiz and move on to the next one. Before the quiz, he would move on to the next one. So you're already kind of confused, not really getting it or trying to get it and remember it for the quiz, and you're already moving on to the next subject. So then when you take the quiz, you're starting to take the formula from the next subject and use it in the current one. And it was just so confusing. Why are we moving on to something entirely new when we haven't even completed this lesson? And then for me, that didn't work, but whatever, that's his teachings. What really didn't work was when he said at the end of each lesson, if you don't understand this, get up and walk out the door. What? You're a teacher. You're a bad teacher. Like, literally, you are here so that if we don't understand, you ever heard of like no question is a dumb question? There are dumb questions, but like you're supposed to say that just to make us feel better so that we are comfortable to ask and try to succeed and grow and be better people. It's like that just totally turned me off, and he meant it. He wasn't going to help you, and he didn't. So I failed because what the hell? He also would grade our homework like there were quizzes. So I couldn't even get my grade up with my homework grade because I was doing bad on the homework as well. And he just didn't care to help if you were doing bad. Yeah, it was a weird time. Talked to my counselor. He said, I like the guy. I said, I'm really happy you guys are friends and you get beer after work, but what about me? I don't like the guy. It was weird. That is just an example of like what growing up in a public school system was like for me. Most of the time, though, I could figure it out. Spanish class I didn't do well in because Spanish, you absolutely have to pay attention to get to the next lesson. Otherwise, you're lost. Like you build. With Spanish, it's like blocks. I really wish I took the time to learn that because I would love to know Spanish right now and I want to learn like a million languages. But that was one of the things I did really bad into, or not really bad. I got like a D, I think, once in Spanish because you could not BS your way through Spanish class. Yeah, no. She'd be talking and I'm like, huh? I just masked really well is my point and did not get the help that I needed. And gosh, by the time I was 18, I totally burnt out. I had a mental breakdown. I went to a mental hospital for a week. I wanted to not exist anymore and I wasn't going to do anything about it. I just knew that it didn't feel good to feel that way, so I did get the help that I needed. And again, I am not scared to get the help that I need. I will never find shame in getting the help that I need. It's hard sometimes though to ask for it, to get it. Sometimes you literally will put all your effort into getting it and still not receive or be held the way you need to. So it's difficult. As an adult now who is finally sorting through all of this and saying, what do I need? What is life going to look like for me in my brain and my ADHD? And, everyone says it, but when I say it, I mean it. And people laugh and they think I'm joking. But seriously, also probably autism. I get the fight, the routine, spontaneous. Like they fight each other constantly, black and white, like it just, and I am awkward Like, I can have a lot of fun, especially if I'm comfortable, especially if I'm one-on-one with someone. But in groups, I am so awkward. When I meet people, I immediately form or attempt to chameleon into the situation to neutralize everything, make everything comfortable. Because I don't know, like, how you should act sometimes. So I just, there's so many things, and I'm sure getting diagnosed would help. Some people have contradicting opinions on that as well, because they think, word curse or something. You're defining yourself to a life of this thing. And do I believe to some extent that certain things and disorders can be cured or dealt with in a certain way that you don't have to suffer from them anymore, barely anymore, or even just a little bit? Yes. But I also believe there's certain ways that we are wired, right? Getting it, one of the most fascinating things to me is like the nurture versus nature, how we are brought up, what has made us who we are through every little second that we live, every experience that we have, every friend that we've made, our parents, our siblings, societally, if we've traveled. Like, there's all of these aspects that make us ourselves, but there's also these aspects of we were just born this way, right? And so I think that a lot of people are born wired a certain way. And the thing is, when you have a visible disability, you can name that disability. And I'm not saying like my life is so hard because I don't have a physical visible disability. No, I'm just saying, as an example, if it's a disability, which you can call it a disability, whatever, you know what I mean? They're just words, because you can use it. It's a whole other talk. But when it's not something visible, it's so difficult to get a grasp on, get a hold on, even know what's going on. In that first step in finding it, figuring it out, and having a word for it is so freeing. So going back to not putting yourself on a pedestal, or not putting yourself in the category of I'm so different, I'm so lonely, or I'm so much better than everybody because I think so different and I'm so creative and I have all of these emotions. And to some extent, is that also just like who I am, and there's certain things that make me entirely unique, you yourself as well. Yeah, and you are special in your own way, not better than anybody, but special and unique. But there's also a lot of things that are just, there is a name for it, there is a word for it. And if there's negative connotations with it, there's ways that then you can take that thing and turn it around, even into a positive to some extent, or at the least implement things into your life that make life easier and more joyful, because isn't that the whole point, right? To be able to adventure and create and connect and discover things about yourself. And if discovering certain things about yourself means finding ways of making life easier and more enjoyable, and you can get every ounce out of this life that you can in doing that, why wouldn't you? That is my biggest fear, is not being able to just squeeze every freaking ounce of this life that I have. And I often feel guilty for being privileged. It doesn't honor anyone to feel guilty. But what I can do is I can, without too much pressure, because that's an issue too, do everything in my favor to squeeze every ounce out of my life that I can. And for me, a diagnosis, or at least some kind of answer that really tied everything together and made things start to make sense, was the first step in being able to do that. And now I'm piecing it all together and falling in love with life because of it. So, have I figured it out? No. Not entirely. Will I ever entirely figure it out? No. Because will everything be completely perfectly aligned one day and I'll wake up and go, like the birds are chirping, I have the perfect partner, I have the perfect job, I have the perfect income in the perfect place with the perfect friends. Maybe once for like a month or something, right? But things, they fluctuate. So focus on the things that are good, right? But I'm just starting to get a grip and I'm excited to do it, but it still gets stressful. It still is hard. And I guess we can talk about a few of the things that I think will work, but I feel like there's little laces of wisdom throughout this whole video. But another one is take it with a grain of salt, because we are all completely individual with, again, unique experiences. One thing that works for me is not going to work for you. One thing that works really great for me could work really great for you as well. It's like, there's no one band-aid, there's no one pill, there's no one video, there's no one thing that's going to solve everything. Everything is so simple yet so complicated at the same time. It's such a, what's the word? Paradox. One thing I will say, advice for that, for watching videos like this, for taking in information, always take it with a grain of salt. Consider what actually works for you, what doesn't work for you. Spend your days learning your body, your mind, so that you can take the information that makes sense, leave what doesn't, not absorb too much of other people's opinions and thoughts and ideas that don't actually apply to you. People project their experiences onto you most of the time. They will listen. They will give advice before actually listening and understanding you. So what was the point of this? I don't know. I've hit a million topics in this video that I could go off on huge tangents on. And the reason I'm doing that is, again, because I'm scattered today and I have so many thoughts right now. And it's just like blah, 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 blah. And this is a form of getting that all out there and sharing that with you, as I've said already. Anyways, back to the things that I think are helping me with this dilemma. And I'm still figuring out what my world can look like that will cater to that brain and into who I am as an individual, because it isn't just about the ADHD too. Then it goes into what are my goals and wants and dreams, and do they tie back to the ADHD in a way? Yeah, because I am like, my ultimate thing is like adventure, travel, culture, food, like just immersing myself in other cultures and places and nature and animals. And it's like, it kind of works out because that can be the one thing that I focus on. But, the ADHD wants constant new and boing, 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 boing. But it's like, that's what travel is. It's always new. So it's like, I can really have that be like my number one passion that I can focus on and really hone in on, and have other things kind of branch off in my life because of it, and always feel satisfied ADHD wise because it's new, it's fun, it's exciting. So I love that I've discovered that about myself. It's helped me also come back to the fact that there's different ways of living life, and you can discover that through travel. And I eventually want to help, I think, men too, use travel as a form of healing, even for ADHD specifically, because it is such a solution to hating the mundane but needing a healthy coping mechanism. It's like creating and forming an unconventional lifestyle where you can just travel and new. And is it a little unstable? Yeah, but like you can deal with that, because that's better than the feeling of a 9-to-5. I was just talking about this today. So eventually I want to, take people on trips, have people take that first solo trip instead of waiting for someone to go with them, and making groups for that, and coaching people through healing and creating a world that feels good for them in their brain, and realizing that there's other paths, and through culture, and I want to move abroad one day, Europe specifically, because I loved Asia as well. I really want to go back to Asia, but Europe, it's just like they move to a different clock there. And my mom always used to say, I am a snail riding on top of a turtle through peanut butter saying we. If you think about that, there's multiple layers to that. But the point is I'm slow. Even when I drive, like everyone laughs at me because I'm a granny driver. I take hours to eat my meals. I am slow. I take 3 hours to feel human in the morning. I take 3 hours to fall asleep at night. I take an hour to start a task. I am slow, okay? And that doesn't mean that I don't get things done. I get things done, and I'm successful in my own definition of success, again, internally and externally, in certain areas. My point was, in Europe, they move slow. They just move slower. They don't work as much. And, I hate this idea that the older generation has, this new generation doesn't want to work. It's like, I'm sorry, like, when humans exist, like, we're not meant to do this, Whole other thing, which I feel like our generation is really good with, which I love. We're like, no, I actually don't want to do that. I actually don't want to dedicate 40 to 50 hours of my life every week doing things I hate. And I've known that. I am so grateful that I have known that from when I was like that big. If you read that journal entry, I was like, or listen to that journal entry, I was like, no, this ain't happening. I'm depressed. I don't want to do this. And like, I want you to know you don't have to do that either. And there's ways. And it also can go into a little bit of like spirituality and trusting. And unfortunately, in the US, we've created a culture that you really do have to conform in a lot of ways to feel safe. And, there's ways right now that I am not conforming, and so I don't feel safe. Like, I don't have health insurance, which sucks. But there's little ways that you can, like, do things. Like, if you work at Starbucks, they have amazing health insurance, like, literally dental, vision. Dental, vision. I don't know. There's other things. 401k. Like, it's just, they have great benefits. Trader Joe's. A lot of barista positions, if you look on like Indeed in certain areas, will have health insurance. So there's like little things you can do. Traveling, like, again, if your goal is to travel a lot, you can get your health care done in other countries. Unfortunately, it's just like in the back of my mind, like emergencies, So that's one, especially if you're transitioning into a more unconventional lifestyle, because you cannot conform. Like, that's the thing is with the ADHD, it's like you either conform and you work a job that you hate and you burn out and it's horrible, you hate your life, but you keep doing it so you can have that kind of security, or you just dive in and you go for it and you have a little bit of anxiety and you do a little bit of risk taking to live a life that feels authentic and good initially, because at one point you can get yourself to a point where you build that security for yourself, but that's also difficult with ADHD sometimes. So it's like, you have to find that balance of, which I was saying earlier. See, we always have a full circle moment here. If you have ADHD and you're watching this, you're going to enjoy the way I go through this, actually. But you might not have made it this far because you have ADHD. You can't focus. Anyways, I truly think that anything worth it is worth taking a risk, and usually you have to take a risk. You have to be courageous. You have to be brave. You have to go against the grain a little bit. It's just like choose your challenge. You know what I mean? Is your challenge going after what you want and deciding to live a life that feels good for you, that feels nourishing for you, and then there's like failure along the way. Inevitable in anything that you do and that you try and strive for. You're going to fail. That's the point. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. That's how you know you're getting closer and closer to doing good, which is like an often misconception is like, I failed. Good. That's the point, the amount of times that genius, amazing, talented people have failed. They've failed more than you have in your life because they're going at it. You know what I mean? They're going for it. Or you can pick the other challenge, which is just like being burnt out and miserable all the time. To me, it's an obvious pick, but it's hard either way. But if you are, I'm sorry, first of all, that we live in a world that doesn't have a lot of or enough resources for people that feel the way that I feel or that you do or that you feel. But you know what? That's also kind of the point, is like, I'm here creating hopefully a resource for you, hopefully a space where you can feel heard and seen, and maybe one day I can contribute literally to you watching this right now, specifically your life. Maybe I can help you chase your dreams of breaking out of that and finding a nourishing life. And like, let's just keep discovering things. Let's just keep healing and growing and doing this thing. But it sucks. Sometimes it sucks, right? And that's what we talk about here too. It sucks. We're not afraid to say when it freaking sucks. Like, we're not going to throw a pity party and sit around and do nothing about it, but we're going to talk about it, because like, denying it and pretending that everything's rainbows and sunshine is just not it either. So first off, I want to acknowledge, if you are coming to realizations to this video, or if you've already come to these realizations, I'm sorry. You deserve better. We can't go in the past and fix anything that's happened then, but we can do something now. Let's do better. Let's strive every day. Do little things and celebrate building a life that you want. It's really hard, especially with our brains, to feel accomplished when we do things, and it's like, your life isn't this one big bang. For me, sometimes I feel like I do that a lot. I'll do a huge trip, leave for months, and it's great. I love it. But I really, really struggle with the day-to-day things, and that's what building a life is. It's those little things you do every day, and that's the hard part. So, treat yourself, celebrate little wins, do one little thing towards your goals every single day, and then I swear every day you're going to feel better and better and better and better, and then one day you're going to be like, wait, holy crap, I don't care that I don't live a normal life. And, maybe people look at me like I'm weird, or maybe people are jealous because I was brave enough to do it. But like, I don't care. You're going to be living such an authentic life that when someone questions it, you're not going to get insecure and sad and let them drain your energy through those questions. You're going to literally be so confident in who you are and what you're doing that you'll be baffled that someone would even dare to say something like that to you. Can you imagine the presence of someone who goes, excuse me? You can go, I know, it's just, I can't do the 9 to 5. I like to travel. And, you're explaining yourself and you're all nervous, versus someone who goes, someone talks to you, oh, why do you want to do that? And you go, I'm sorry? What do you mean? Or you're currently doing it. So you're going, what? Do what? This is my life. This is who I am. And it's like, you can be that person. You're going to be that person. I can feel it. I feel it. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. One day we will get to the things that I'm like doing a little bit. Okay, here's another subject that I want to talk about before we go, is the living in seasons, because I always had this, again, it's like the autism, the ADHD fighting. And people are probably going to get mad at me for using those words with being undiagnosed, but I don't really care, to be honest, because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel better. I do research on it. It helps me tremendously. It also makes me feel heard and seen and understand myself to a better degree, so whatevs. But I get the fight with, I would love to have my own little apartment and in my space with all my little things. And I do. I'm very lucky, I will say, to have, my family, and there's all, everyone has their issues with their family and stuff too, but I have this place to return to where I can keep my things while I live kind of a nomadic lifestyle, or that's my goal. So I have that craving to build some kind of community. It's hard for me to build community where my hometown, though, for some reason, there's like dark presence here. But, or that's just what I tell myself, at least. That's how it feels. So I'm going to acknowledge it. Anyways, I'm sweating. Have my place, my community, routine. And then there's just this entirely different part of me that is like, ooh, I want to do something different every day. I want to dive in the ocean. I want to sail across the Pacific. I want to you know what I mean? You get the point. We're this far in, you know how it feels to have about a bajillion different passions and aspirations and things you want to do. And it kept feeling like I had to pick one. And I want to make a whole video about this, but the universe, and maybe I'll lose you with certain language, but that's just how I see it, like source, universe. That's how I am spiritually. I'm definitely not an atheist. Definitely wouldn't say religious. I'd say spiritual. And the universe sends me little messages and things that I used to get really caught up in that stuff too, and pay attention to it too much, which is a whole other thing as well, a little bit of a spiritual psychosis. But now I am to a degree where I can notice things, take it in, consider it, and it really, really helps me actually, and it's really grounding and lovely to have something like that to return to. But the universe speaks to me in ways I'll understand. And a big one is movies. I've always loved movies. And so randomly, I'll get the feeling I need to watch this movie, and there'll be a message in it for me. I'll be watching a movie I don't even like, and at the very end, it hits me that there's this huge message I needed to hear and understand. And recently, it was Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man. And I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was great. And I was a little bored. But there came that point where he had to choose between, molting and spoiler alert, new Spider-Man spoiler, or like being the old Spider-Man, you know what I mean? Is he going to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Is he going to like grow and like his eyes kept getting all black and he was being a little bit evil? And at this scene, I literally stopped breathing because it had been months and months and months of serious debate and back and forth between these two parts of myself that I'm trying to honor. Stability, maybe getting mental help that I need for ADHD, coaching, therapy, consistency, routine, and being a nomad and just saying, screw it, I want to live in a life that feels good for me. And I'm like, what do I do? Do I do that right now and then travel, build now? But like if I start to build my life somewhere, it's going to be harder to leave. I'm not going to want to go do my travel things as much. And to some degree, I'm always a little bit restless. I just want to go. I just want to travel. And I'm like, how do I honor myself? So at this moment, I literally stopped breathing, and it was like months and months pent up of trying to decide. And to some degree, also the decision paralysis has to do with that too. But this was entirely something different, I think. And she was like, you have to choose, basically. And I literally was like, what's he going to pick? Because like, is it going to be I'm normal? And this went deep. Like, I could really dive into how much this like movie analogy sign goes deep for me in other ways emotionally as well, but I'll just keep it to the ADHD one. Like, are you going to be normal, or are you going to be like crazy, somewhat reckless, but also that's who you are, so why are you pushing it down? And I'm like on the edge of my seat now, having not really been super enjoying the movie. All of a sudden I'm like, what is he gonna do? Because I'm getting advice from this movie right now, and I can't remember which is ironic because I'm making it this big deal. I can't remember the exact word he said, but I repeated it right before he said it. Like, I knew what he was gonna say, and he was like, both. And I was like, that's been the answer the whole time. Both. You can have both. So this whole story, I really like to paint a picture. That's why it's Tashi Talks, right? Is come back to seasons. Living my life in seasons. I had seen a TikTok about this, which feels somewhat stressful. Because again, there's a part of my brain that's like, what do you mean seasons? It has to be perfect and all together. And then the other part's like, no, it has to be crazy all the time. Go, 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 go. You can live your life in seasons, whether that be this season is for this passion. This season is for traveling. This season is for hibernating. And when you think about it, which I believe in so thoroughly, that like if we were to just strip everything, simplify everything, and go back to like being just part of the ecosystem, like, because we're animals, we have we're so desensitized to the fact that we are animals too, because we have this consciousness. We think we're better than everything else on the planet. We're not. We're also animals. So if you strip it all away and you go back to seasons, animals will migrate. Animals will hibernate. It's like winter. And this is just an example. I haven't fully figured it out, and it used to even stress me out just thinking about it, because it was hard for me to make that choice of like, you're allowed to do that. Winter, I come back home and I hibernate, and I watch the house while my dad snowbirds or something. This is, again, example. See how I'm like stressed about making that decision already? I'm like, no, it can't be a decision. I still have to think about it. You know, spring, I do seasonal work. So I have a for sure job that 3 months or something, or 3 to 6 months, depending on how much I want to work or how much money I need. And I can switch the seasonal place. So if like I get sick of this place or it's not great, or like I want to try a new place, I can even apply to jobs in that place and do seasonal work. I have my YouTube channel and little side hustles and gigs. I'm ADHD, man. I'm on this. I have about 1 million different projects I'm working on. If I can hone in and work on a few that can create some income for me, I can maintain my seasons as well, which I do with my ASMR channel, trying to do with this channel to some extent, but also just trying to enjoy it as well. Summer travel, I just go, and I have ways of doing that affordably so that I don't have to spend all of my time working all the time. Fall, maybe just settle somewhere random and do month-to-month lease and work a job because I ran out of money, or not, travel more. Like, it just depends. And then through those seasons, when I'm hibernating, maybe this is the time that I really get to work on music, because I love music and that is such a way to express myself, and I need these outlets and these creative outlets to feel good, but it's hard to focus and work that out with everything else going on. And then it's like, the summer is like, who gives a poop? I don't really focus too much on anything because I'm just traveling and enjoying life, and it's seasons. So far that has been the most solid conclusion I've been able to come to, and I've slowly been already moving towards that life and knowing that, but not on a mental level, maybe on like a body level. Like, I knew that, but I didn't know that, considering it, and it just feels right, and saying it to you now feels right and complete. And then through those certain seasons, seeing what things work for me to stay productive in a way that feels good, not in a way that is, I have to be productive to make this money, to do these things, to keep doing these things I don't like, in a way that I want to be productive because it makes me feel good, because I spent 6 months doing nothing and that didn't feel good. And I want outlets, and I want community, and I want creativity. And I feel all of these things, and I don't want to be wasted potential. So through each season, what tasks and little tricks and things can I do to keep myself in routine? What routine and home can I return to here all the time, no matter where I am? So that there's also balance within that chaos, so I can satisfy both parts of like that perfectionism, the routine, but also the need for new. And I'm working it out, and in doing that, I do feel it's leading me to a life path of guiding other people into doing that. And it really is all coming together, and you just need to take a deep breath sometimes and be like, it's happening. Fall in love with that process, because at the end, there is no end. It's just right now, you and me here in this moment, this very minute, even filming this video. Find myself thinking, okay, when this is over, then it's over. Then what? I don't know. At the end of my shift, okay, then what? I watch a movie? Like, I don't know. Just be in the moment. And yeah, that's also part of this channel. It's like, let's live life. Let's enjoy life. Let's be present. Let's do this. Let's grow. I hope some of this stuff resonated with you. It certainly did with me, obviously, because I'm the one saying it. I love you. Goodbye. Good night.